Sasol SA Rally Championship, no less than 12 titles, still looking for new owners. The biggest prize still up for grabs were the SA Co-Drivers Championship, where Guy Hodgson was the strongest contender, and the SA Production Car title, where Nicholas Ryan was all but home and dry. Other titles in dispute were classes A7, A6 and N2 for both drivers and co-drivers. 14 stages made up the 2006 Toyota Zanin Rally route, 5 on Friday totaling just 73 kilometers. The other 8 stages were set to provide another 141 kilometers of hot-paced action on Saturday. Zanin is thought to derive its name from the Sotho word saneng, meaning the place where people gather. The soil and climate allow a wide variety of crops to flourish. Subtropical and citrus fruits, tea, timber, winter veggies and carnations are some of the crops supplied from the region. It was founded in 1909 and today is a bustling town serving the wider tourism and farming industries. The spectacular Debegeni Falls, Majaji Rainforest and Makubus Kloof attract visitors to the area all year round. After 7 events, the honours were evenly spread between the beefy Volkswagen Polos of newly crowned champion Enzo Kuhn and co-driver Guy Hodgson and the outgoing champions Jannie Habik and Douglas Judd. Each had 3 wins. After looking like they were going to remain winless for the first time since 1985, Serge Damso, Robert Paisley and the Castrol Toyota team came good on the Subaru Cape Rally last month. Enzo Kuhn was already crowned the overall champion and led Class S2000. Chris de Wit and Patrick Yendi had already retained their Class N3 championship. Michael Houghton and Bryn Doherty also successfully defended their A5 titles. 53 teams made the trek to Limpopo province, including 2 visiting teams from Zimbabwe. As final preparations got underway, the mercury soared to the mid-30s.
The strategy will unfold during the event. We obviously would like to have Guy Hodgson also win the championship alongside me. I think to start off with, we really need to be cautious. We only need a point, which equates to 19th position. If any of the other crews retire, you know, then it opens it up altogether. Then we don't even need to finish. So, yes, I would have liked to give it a bit of a go here at the end. I've been very cautious the whole year, and I've really had to drive calculated events. But that's good. It's good discipline, you know.
For Guy, this was an important event.
Got to finish. You know, it's a bit difficult. I feel conscious of Enzo because he's the champion, so he wants to go and win the rally. He's got nothing to lose, whereas I actually really need 1 point. So a little bit of a conflict in the car. So I think 3 or 4 Ks into the first stage, I'll tell you how fast he's going or how slowly he's going.
But Serge was going to go fast.
You know, the championship is basically tied up, so it's a bit of a difficult event, you know. Not much to go, maybe to win the rally, basically. But that, we'll take it as it comes, you know. It's a very difficult rally. It's hard on the cars, and then, of course, there's no room for mistakes. So you could take a corner off or anything, you know, quite easy.
One other co-driver was in with a mathematical shot of the championship.
For Serge and Jannie, it's a case of just flat out and see where the cars fall. I think for Enzo, he's particularly keen for Guy to win the championship, so I think he'll most probably take it a bit more conservatively.
Jannie Habik is always consistent in his approach.
You know, we'll attack this event like we normally do. You know, try to go out there, do our best, stay out of trouble, and yeah, go as quickly as possible. This is a notoriously tricky event. There are lots of places that can catch you, so I think one has to be a bit careful, because to go flat out from the beginning, you will get caught somewhere. And you know, tomorrow is a long day, and I think the meat of the rally is really tomorrow. So I think it's important to get a good position for today, and then tomorrow you can go a little bit faster.
Etienne Lorenz had an eye on finishing the year second in the championship standings.
I'm not sure how to approach this event yet. It will be nice to win, but you don't want to come 4th or 5th in the championship. So at this point in time, we're lying 3rd, and if you want to hold it there, I don't know. You know, it's difficult. But I'd like to go. We'll see how the pace is now, and then maybe attack it and go for a win. Yeah. Paul Ergen's got nothing to lose. Serge has got nothing to lose. He's 10 points behind me. I've got Nicholas Ryan 5 points behind me. So if I go bananas and I bugger it up, then I could lose 3rd place. But you know, the cherry's been taken, and we don't really worry about the rest.
For Nicholas Ryan, there was much at stake.
We need 1 point. However, we want to win the N4 if possible to have the 60 on the car for next year. So we have to come second in class. So it still have to go. You can't lose concentration and slow down.
Too slow would open the door for Johnny Gemmell.
This one's the last one of the season, and just a few points between us for the class championship. So we're going to go, I think. It's very close. Nicholas is only ahead of us by maybe 3-4 points. He's just got to finish 3 positions behind us in the class, and we can win the class championship. So that's what our aim is this weekend.
Fernando Rueda wasn't about to give him an inch.
It's a long rally, it's very tight. I think it'll be good, I hope. And, you know, Johnny's a very hard man to beat. But we're going to give it our best. We'll just have to give it some horn. The roads are some very tight, some look very slippery. But, you know, it's a rally. You know, it changes 10 times in one stage, so we're all kind of used to it by now.
Damso was drawn first on the road thanks to his better seeding ahead of Kuhn and Habig. At 11 o'clock, Damso set off for stage 1, a gentle 10.4 kilometre of road never used before. Located on the Mujaji Road, 12 kilometres from Zanin, the stage had a hard, gravelly surface and plenty of dust. It weaved its way through dense forest before crisscrossing a fast open section of deforested plantation with lots of dangerous tree stumps on the edge of the road. In the Volkswagen camp, there were differing opinions about tyre choice.
I think this event is just so tough and so long that we don't need to worry about stage wins. You know, the strategy for this event is to get to the end. It's a tough event, and stage times and tyre choice and that, I think, is just almost irrelevant on this event. It's not a sprint.
We tested yesterday, and the surface is very loose on the surface but hard underneath, so it makes it very slippery. I think tyre choices will have an influence on this one.
Jan Habig and Douglas Judd were quickly up to speed, looking mighty impressive in their beefy Volkswagen Polo. Jürgen Fecken and Pierre Aries were also on song after a difficult first year in S2000. Serge Damso and Pierre Aries were the quickest in their Castrol Toyota Runex. Sol Volken and Greg Godrich had the hammer down in their A7 Castrol Runex and beat Damso by 1 second. Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson settled in for a long, hot afternoon. Gemmell and Peter Marsh were flying, with the N4 Championship tantalizingly close. The surprise first stage winners were Etienne Lawrence and Andre Vermeulen in their team total Toyota Runex. We go in car with the fastest man on the stage. Watch how busy Lawrence is with the sequential gearbox and using the handbrake for those really tight turns. Overshot and dropped a few seconds to the flying Gemmell. Adrian Karth and Des de Fortier had to do a 3-point turn. More time lost. Eric Storbeck was coming for the cameraman, but got it all stopped in time. That looks like a terminally ill polo player. Mohamed Musa got warned of the obstacle ahead. An oil trail under a car is never good news. Rueda was battling to turn the big, cumbersome Lancer through the tighter sections. Vulcan had a 5-point championship lead over his rival and drew first blood in the intense Class A7 championship fight. Jean-Pierre Damso was already fighting a rearguard action after he dropped 13 seconds. Barry Krobela and Mike Burrows were hanging on to the class leaders in their Sasol Volkswagen Golf. Karth and de Fortier were driving hard to make up for their earlier time loss in the forest. John and Douglas Williams were in for a very long day with a persistent misfire in their Volkswagen Polo. Tony Ball beat his Volkswagen Golf and lost 17 minutes. This was the situation after the first stage. was no break before stage 2, and already we had lost 5 teams. A more challenging 8.2 kilometers lay in wait to wreak havoc. Forested mountains, contours, grassy tracks, hidden sump rocks and rough sections, Triangle Forest had it all. The engine notes of the S2000 cars reverberated off the mountains as they continued to suss out the pace. Habicht lost out by 25 seconds to the on-form Charles Vulcan, showing how fast an A7 car can be. Damso was only 2 seconds quicker than Vulcan. Dean was picking up the pace and banged in the 3rd quickest time. Second was enjoying his rally and beat the new champion by 9 seconds. But this man was on a mission. Lorenz set another fastest time, or so he thought. Johnny Gemmell put in a stunning time to beat the field of S2000 cars in his Castrol Mitsubishi 5 seconds faster than the total Toyota. Nicholas Ryan and Scott van Heerden were holding down second in class N4 according to plan. For the creepy crawly Subaru Impreza pair of Peter du Plessis and Dave Lefkowitz, it was not a good start. The left front shock absorber mounting broke and emergency repairs had to be carried out. The team total rally chicks, Lola and Megan Verlaat, were well on their way in the Subaru. Zimbabweans Craig Green and Mike Exton were cajoled into making the trip and beat Lola by 5 seconds. Sali de Troy and Gert van Rensburg were back in action in a brand new Team Total Subaru after their old car was gutted on the Oostrum Rally 2 months ago. Troy had to set up his car after it was completed the day before the rally and had never driven it until stage 1. It wasn't only the weather that was hot in Zanin.
Yeah, the pace is right up front. I think we've got a bit small of advantage of driving 6 on the road at the moment. You can see a clear line as it's open, so it is an advantage at the moment. That's why I think we're all more or less on the same pace, but it is worth half a second or something okay.
Jan Habeck's technicians had a lot of work to do.
The guys are trying hard, and so are we. We were a bit lucky. We went very wide, and there was a big rock, and we drove over the rock, and it bent a couple of suspension arms. But fortunately, we got out, and the guys are busy fixing it.
But Charles Vulcan was all smiles.
It seems we caught the guys napping on the first stage again, so that's good. No, the pace match is working well. Greg's doing a good job, and the car feels great. So, you know, hopefully we can keep this pace up. This rally, you need to clock in at the last, service park to make sure you're at the end. Before that, nothing's guaranteed.
The Williams rally team also had their work cut out for them. Computers mean obscure electrical problems.
In the class we run, the car's very modified, so there's always little bits and pieces. We had a shakedown yesterday, and we found a bit of a misfire. We found 1 or 2 plugs that seemed to be faulty. We changed that. On the smooth stuff, the car seemed to be okay. And as soon as we started the stage this morning on the rough stuff, there's a misfire under load. They're having another look at it and see if it's actually the computer, and hopefully they can sort it out and we can get going again. Last year we had to finish second, and I think on the second last stage we had a problem with the gearbox and ended at the end of the rally and the championship. So yeah, that's it. You know, it's the same old story. It's not over till the fat lady sings.
Du Plessis' team was still working on the broken shock absorber and taking precautions to make sure it didn't punch a hole through the bonnet. It was calm in the Castrol Toyota camp with not much activity taking place.
It's a long event, and as I said, this is a very difficult event. You know, you think you got everything, but there's too many things around to eat.
20 minutes at the Kiet Forest Station Service Park, the crews headed to the top of Makuba's Kloof Pass for Stage 3. Aptly called Grey Mist, the 27-kilometre long stage is a gravel road version of the tarred mountain pass. The hard-baked and rocky road snakes to the bottom of the valley below with fearsome drops, dappled flight and plenty of very tricky dips and jumps. Damso's car was in fine fettle and he put it to good use to set a super time of 20 minutes 34 seconds. Kuhn trailed Damso but had a different agenda to everybody else. Gemmell was 5 seconds slower than Damso. The S2000 cars started to stamp their authority on the rally. Production cars easily reach up to 180 kilometers on these long, fast sections. Habeck, after a slow start to the day, stormed through to the fastest stage time, 7 seconds quicker than Serge. Pekin had a big overshoot and couldn't select reverse. He lost over a minute. For the early rally leader Etienne Lawrence, it was game over. Pretoria Pair had a puncture that eventually caused the wheel to break. Trying to reach service on 3 wheels, the sump wore through, the oil ran out, and that was that. JP Damso won this particular Class A7 battle after Vulcan stopped in a hairpin and couldn't select reverse. Barry Grobbelaar and Mike Barrows were ahead of the similar net connect golf of Kart and Fortier, both aging cars still going well. John and Doug Williams were hemorrhaging time in their Guma Volkswagen Polo, still with a mystery misfire.
Repeat 70 downhill to right 3 in 60.
The junior Damso camp was in optimistic mood.
We took 46 seconds out of him in the last stage. We had quite a good stage, but so we're leading by 37, I think, but we still need somebody to start in between us for us to win the channel, or to tie on points, and then we will win.
The conditions were taking their toll.
It is quite rough out there. We just changed the road and that was a bit, looked like a bit faulty, so we just did that as a precaution. We don't want to take any risk, but we're having a good one thus far.
Aggie Straw was back in a rally with his N3 Ellie Straw Toyota Runex and was on Claudio Piazzamusso's pace. Piazzamusso and Greg Kiriker were battling with overheating problems in their Sasol Toyota. Teammates Cobus Rus and Neil Fourie set the fastest N3 time. Mohamed Musa and Henry Dearlove, second in the championship, retired after wrapping their suspension around a tree stump.
Can't forget last year. This is seriously a rally of attrition. We did start off with the mentality we got to get through the rally and get there tomorrow. And truth nuts, we've done only 3 stages and already there's havoc. We're battling a little bit, but nothing too hectic. Rodney's already out, Musa's already out, Cobus has had serious problems already, so we're just taking it easy. We lost a lot of time the last stage, but again, taking it easy, getting through, and we just want to survive at the moment and try and get to the finish tomorrow.
Cobus Rus was also in trouble.
You know, I never used to believe Claudio when he tells me it loses power when the ambient temperature is as high as today. But we're battling, we're having one hell of a dice, but we're going very slowly. I think if they were N1 cars, they would be ahead of us now, so, but it's tough.
Professor Duplessis' day got worse.
I lost power in the midsection, complete. Runs like 1100 Uno. And as we stopped, we heard the turbo with them making a sandy noise. So it's obviously on its way going. So we're into lateness already. Yeah, and still haven't got the turbo out. It's quite a job, and it's very hard.
25 minutes of service was a relief for those that emerged more or less intact from stage 3 before tackling Mineshaft 1. It was incredibly dusty and consisted of fairly soft roads on the perimeter of the Agatha Forest with thick bushveld vegetation. The stage plunges straight downhill for a kilometre, followed by a fast S and left sweep. The top S2000 cars were awesome through the spectacular Mineshaft stage. Damso dropped 7 seconds to Jan Habeck, who set the fastest time. The throngs of spectators loved every moment of the show as Kuhn swept past them just meters away. Second was equally spectacular. JP dropped 4 seconds to the flying Vulcan. Du Plessis was back on the pace after changing a turbo. Nick Ryan was still on track for second in class. Charlie du Toit settled into his new car and was getting quicker by the kilometre, but was still learning the setups. Zimbabwean Craig Green was only 2 seconds off the Toy's pace. Mike Nathan took a shortcut and was later penalised 4 minutes. In Class A5, the pace was as hot as ever, with Houghton and Doherty, already crowned A5 champions, giving the A5 leader Guguzulu a hard run. Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin had things their own way in Class A6.
The roads are extremely narrow. It's very, very tricky here. We are 1 point behind, so whoever wins this event walks away with the crown. So we've got that in the back of the mind, trying to push to get a nice little buffer, and then from tomorrow look after the car, because I don't, foresee the car taking a pounding like this for the whole event.
Craig Trott was also in the title hunt.
I think with this rally, we're only at the start of the rally. There's still 2 stages today and then 140 k's a stage tomorrow. So history's proven that the second day is always a long, long day. So our aim at the moment is just to get to the overnight stop, so we are on the start list tomorrow morning.
Trott's team Total Corolla was on top form.
Yeah, as we've seen, a couple of cars fell out stage 1, 2 cars fell out in stage 3. So it just goes to show that the attrition rate is going to be high, and to make sure we're not one of them.
Today, the 20-kilometre Rooikoppie stage followed a very tight and twisty mountainous route across and next to an irrigation canal to finish in Politi. The concrete-lined canal has claimed many victims in the past, as the road sweeps downhill and over a very narrow bridge with unyielding concrete parapets. After a poor season, Damso was intent on making up ground and took the lead from Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson, beating the champion by 8 seconds. Kuhn could afford not to get too involved in the fight for the win and was well set to give Guy his title. Gemmell and Marsh were blisteringly quick, but the S2000 cars were starting to stamp their authority on the rally. Second was mightily impressive, using all his skill to control his polo and matched Damso's impressive time. Habich soldiered on in 5th place after his adventures of the day. Sophie Damso took command of the A7 class and hoped something would give. Barry Grobbelaar retired his Sasol Volkswagen Golf with overheating problems. The frustrations in the Williams camp were getting worse by the kilometre, the misfire still ever present. For Charles Vulcan, it was about to become a very bad day. The steering rod broke. Godrich quickly jumped out to inspect the damage, and Vulcan decided to drive the car out and back to service. 4 minutes were lost. After going off in stage 1, Ball and Bissett were trying hard to make up time.
This is a bad stage. We started off and Abig stopped and started like 5 seconds before us. So we were stuck in his dust, and we got a puncture somewhere, and eventually that ended up with the tie rod breaking off. So yeah, lost 4 minutes there, 4.5.
Vulcan was worried the damage was terminal.
It felt like the wheel was like going to come right off. So I just wanted to double check, you know. So, you know, that 20 seconds, it's not going to make a difference.
45 minutes of service allowed the teams to get the cars sorted out for the remaining 8 stages on Saturday. The Volkswagen team worked frantically on Abig's car, while Bissett du Plessis' day showed no signs of improvement.
You want to do a documentary on what can go wrong?
1/3 of the rally was over, and of the 53 starters, just 27 made it back to Park Firm. Jan Habig and Douglas Judd ended 5th overall, but irreparably damaged suspension forced their retirement. Serge Damso was a slender 6 seconds up on Enzo Kuhn. Johnny Gemmell was in charge in the production car race, with Nicholas Ryan's Bosel Subaru Impreza holding a potentially championship-winning 7th overall and 2nd in class. JP Damso led Class A7 from Vulcan, and Trott was ahead of Marc Ronier. Day 2 started slightly cooler for the 26 survivors. The quick wake-up call stage to the Zanin Showgrounds is always popular with fans. The 930-meter-long stage is extremely tight in places, with thick, soft sawdust making grip a challenge. The stage steps up a terraced ultra-tight switchback into a quick blast to the flying finish. The top 5 runners from day 1 are allowed to nominate their road positions for day 2 as the first cars on the road sweep away the loose gravel for those following. Increased grip equals faster stage times, or so the theory goes. Fecken was first on the road, followed by Gemmell's Mitsubishi, Kuhn and Serge Damso. Fecken was awake and fast, but it was Gemmell who took the fastest stage time in spite of his big, heavy car. That's a big drop if the driver misjudges his turn. Kuhn was steady and matched Fecken to the 2nd. Damso threaded his way between the exhibition halls to end 2 seconds off Gemmell's time. JP Damso could smell the championship and gave it his all with a lead of around 5.5 minutes. Craig Trott and Nigel Hicks were ahead in Class A6 by a minute. Marc Ronier also had a puncture in stage 5, which saw his lead turn into a deficit of a minute. The Class Championship leaders Eugene Lawrence and Derek Jacobs had a torrid day and lost another 6 seconds to title rival Cronje. Cape Townians Charles Stradom and Saki Bosman were soldiering along in their saber paint Volkswagen Polo, but was set to retire. Eldam presented 30.2 kilometers of road through dark, leafy forest tracks littered with sticks and other forest debris, mountains and tight and technical streets. A twisting trip around a flay added to the challenge, and that was just the first half. After swooping under the Majaji Road Bridge, the stage continued around the perimeter of the Warringly Low Dinning Dam. Nicholas Ryan set a competitive time of 24 minutes and 41 seconds. Feckin came through in 24.06 and Gemmel put in a 24.11. Enzo Kuhn hardly looked to be in cruise mode with a time in the high 23 minutes, but was it good enough? Sir Damso, one eye on victory, shot to the top of the timesheet with a stage-winning 23.49. Craig Green was quick and beat Sali de Toy by 19 seconds, a really good performance, but de Toy had brake problems. Duplessis and Lefkowitz had a clean run at last, but caught de Toy and was stuck in his dust. It's a tall order to expect someone to race along at over 100 kilometers an hour without seeing where they're going. After a 20-minute service, teams headed to Stage H, which was a rerun of the daunting mineshaft stage. The area has many side roads leading off the stage, and numerous crews got lost on the first run on Friday. This time they were also facing into the morning sun, but a steady breeze swept away the choking dust, and big rocks were a new hazard. Nicholas Ryan and Schalk van Heerden still had their Bosel Subaru in 5th place and 2nd in Class N4. Enzo Kuhn put the hammer down and showed Sir Damso what he could do if he needed to, snatching his first stage win. The top teams had a great scrap, which entertained the thousands of spectators. Piazza Musso and Kirika still held sway at the front of Class N3. Straw and Stain put in a tremendous showing to be within a handful of seconds off the Sasol machine. Ruiz and Fourie were still suffering the effects of overheating. Houghton revelled in the mineshaft stage, once again taking the Class A5 stage win from the BP Chico of Guguzulu and Rufus Fourie. Was high in the mountains above Zanin, and it was appreciably cooler in the Agave forest. Stage conditions varied from very tight tree-lined leafy roads with hard surfaces to fast, lightly gravelled and slippery wide roads. Many ultra-tight corners would test the bigger cars' maneuverability, with further potential for time losses over the 14.8-kilometre road. The situation at the head of Class N4 was stagnant. Ryan did not need to beat Gemmel. Feckin was still setting competitive times in spite of the ridiculously tight corners and a few problems. But Gemmel was spectacularly quick in his Mitsubishi. Kuhn popped in another fastest time, but again only 2 seconds quicker than Damso. set about routine service, the rally leader was calm.
It's very close in the front there, and try and keep it clean as possible. And 8 seconds is nothing in it, so we'll have to see by the end of the day.
Serge may have been tired, but Fecken had problems of his own.
The side shock broke, and we lost left front brakes, and eventually all brakes at the front. So we did 10 Ks without brakes. We didn't lose too much time, but they had to replace the left front suspension, and the wheel alignment's been out now for 2 stages. So we've been battling along, yeah.
Not that Fecken had given up thoughts of winning.
I think they'll force each other to make a mistake. I might just gain a position.
Sarli de Troy battled through 10 kilometers of this stage without brakes. Green struggled through the tighter stuff and dropped away from Detroit. Duplessis and Lefkowitz soldiered on despite their catalogue of problems. The miscommunication is all it takes to throw it all away, and they were lucky.
You're right, Paul, right?
Sit back and enjoy the Lance Express with Johnny Gemmell.
Tight hairpin left, possible wire entry, 180. Very, very tight.
Cronje and Birkin were still trying to win the class, but were developing their own set of problems. Trott was equally determined to win and nearly overcooked it. Arrow murderer. Eugene Lawrence was still struggling along in his aging Toyota Conquest. Stradom was adding development miles to his Polo, a new car for the 2006 season. Stage 10 was the first 2/3 of this morning's Stage 7, some 16 kilometers of tricky road. Although the drivers would remember it from a few hours ago, conditions had changed as the roads were littered with uprooted rocks and other obstacles. Only the very foolish would throw caution to the wind, so they still needed to exercise care if they wanted to see out the day. Nicholas was relaxed and cautious.
It's getting rougher and it's getting more difficult and hotter. Tires are getting finished. I mean, the 20 kilometer stage, tires are gone. Finish.
Brian's day was about to take a turn for the worse. They nearly rolled after clipping a log. Fecken had full braking power restored and set after Damso with a vengeance. Gemmell tried all he knew to stay with the S2000 cars. He loves mixing it with them, but was nearly 20 seconds slower than Damso. Enzo was in trouble with a time 2 minutes slower than Serge. Damso stretched imperiously to his third stage win. The other Damso was still in command in A7. took him through caution and dust to the wind as he tried to reel in the total run-X. Meanwhile, John Williams was still struggling with his misfire. Tony Ball was having one, a ball that is, and was set for a class podium. Special Stage 11, New Kiert, was a combination of 2 stages in previous years and the longest of the rally at 30.5 kilometers. Again, spectators arrived in their thousands as the battles unfolded. Run opposite and past the Central Service Park presented a rare opportunity for the service crews to watch their chargers in action. This stage featured every kind of condition found in the Zanin area, including a deceptively tricky 2-kilometer blast next to a railway line. Damso set yet another fastest stage time as he ground his way to the finish line. Gemmell, now up into second overall, saw a chance and hammered home a time 3 seconds faster than Fecken's S2000 Polo. Where was Enzo? His steering arm broke in the fast stage and the new champions were headed for an early shower. Nicholas Ryan was a worried man when the gear lever broke off, leaving the Bosel Impreza stuck in 3rd gear. Fisher was having one of those rallies. Tree stumps are unyielding car breakers, more so when you hit them at speed. Fisher was lucky not to roll or rip a wheel off, but suffered mild whiplash.
Andrea? Andrea?
Go around the tree again. Go around the tree. Go around the tree again.
No.
The carnage continued as Ruiz emerged from the trees on the end of a tow rope, the victim of a broken crown wheel and pinion. Eugene Lawrence's chances of winning the A6 title also evaporated in stage 11. Not quite done with the dam area just yet. The last part of stage 7 doubled up as stage 12. The roads around the dam's perimeter flow with the contours that present a wide variety of topography. Equally steep drops follow steep climbs to the water's edge. Damso could afford to ease off the throttle a bit after Keen's untimely exit, although Gemmell reeled him in slowly. Damso Jr. was nursing a gearbox without second gear all day, pulling out bits of metal every time they changed the oil. Ryan shrugged off his moment and was back up to speed. Fecken put his cares aside to blast to the fastest time and upheld VW's honour as the sole surviving S2000 Polo. Vulcan was still on a charge but had no real hope of catching Damso as long as he was still running.
We've lost our second gear, so we can't use that at all today. So we're just nursing the box basically and just see if we can make it to the finish, but try not to put too much strain on the other gears.
Quirko Mantarakis was out as well, his championship hopes in tatters. In N3, Aggie Stroh retired his Runix as well. Just when everyone was tired and machines were stretched beyond their limits, came the traditional sting in the tail. Ominously numbered 13, the 26 kilometers of very rough road high in the mountains above Zanin was a stage to survive. The Agatha forest was tinder dry and foresters had strategically placed water tankers along the route in case of a competitor hitting trouble. Du Plessis was still in the wars. He went off the road again, but booted the car to 5,000 RPM and dropped the clutch, rocketing back onto the stage. Even a cat has less lives than the creepy crawly Subaru. Damso cruised through the stage, relatively speaking, and gave up a minute to the hard-charging Johnny Gemmell, who claimed the stage win. Ryan was anxious to get through the stage and back to the safety of Zanin to finally take the production car championship, so discretion was the better part of valor in the Bosal Subaru. Fekkin now had no hope of slotting onto the middle step of the podium and backed off to preserve his car. Jean-Pierre Damso was still well in the lead of Class A7, but with Vulcan needing a second-place finish, hope was fading as fast as the kilometers sped by. Remarkably, only 15 teams made it back to the Zanin showgrounds for the final stage of the season. It's easy to lose a rally in these artificially tight spectator-orientated stages, but a rally has never been won there, so a final 70 seconds of concentration was still required. It started to drizzle, but it had no effect on the road surface. Zulu and Fourie won Class A5, while Cronje and Birkin took the Class A6 win. The top two-wheel drive Class A7 went to Damso and Frey. Nathan snatched the N2 class win after overcoming all manner of problems. Piazza Musso and Girike took their second class win of the season, and Gemmell won Class N4. Damso and Paisley were the biggest winners, taking their second consecutive victory and the psychological advantage going into the closed season.
It's nice to win on a Toyota event, and especially, you know, they've sponsored the event, so it was good for us, and it was a tough event. I always had that in the back of my mind, you know, try not damage the car, because then it's going to make it more difficult, you know, so that's paid at the end.
Houghton and Doherty won the A5 championship. A6 went to Cronje and Birkin.
Yeah, it's been a long year. We've had a thorough season. If you told me in the beginning it was going to turn out like this, I would think you're dreaming. But it's become a dream, and yeah, fantastic. I'm ecstatic.
The A7 title was won by an emotional Vulcan.
It's been a tough day and nursing the car the whole day, and you know, the team did a fantastic job the whole day, and Greg for his pace notes, and yeah, we pulled it through.
Nathan took the N2 spoils for the second time. The N3 title belonged to De Wit and Yende. Ryan and Van Heerden were the N4 title winners and also took the production car championship.
I think the last rally now, this rally today, and especially today, has been the most difficult. Service guys did fantastic. On every stage that came in, they had to take stuff out the van, fix. It was so rough, and just waited. We're there. We got into Park Ferme, signed the card, and we're there.
But the happiest man of all was Guy Hodgson, who had to wait 23 years for this championship.
I can't believe it. Yeah, it's been an awful... I've come second, I don't know how many times, so the win is all the more sweet. Fantastic. This rally you will not finish if you push from the start. You've got to use your head. You can push maybe one stage or two stages maximum, then you've got to bring it back again to go to the finish. So you've got to time your charge. If you charge from the start, you won't last.